It's a sad day. One of the most exciting races of this marred 2020 season, or any season in fact, will not be running this year. There will be no Paris-Roubaix for the first time since 1942. So a race which managed to survive and run all the way through World War I is the latest victim of the global pandemic.
Yeah, I think we all started to fear the worst, didn't we, when we were watching the continuing rise in COVID-19 cases in France. But ultimately, it has come as a result of the French Health Minister, Olivier Véran, putting the Lille metropolitan area into maximum COVID-19 restrictions because cases in that region are continuing to rise. And it is, of course, the region where Paris-Roubaix takes place. Now, there are far bigger things at stake here than bike racing, so it's without doubt the right decision from organisers ASO.
It's hit us particularly hard, I think, because, of course, we were not only supposed to be watching the men's Paris-Roubaix in a couple of Sundays' time, but also the inaugural women's event, which was due to take place that same morning. Now, of course, we know that this cancellation has been for all the right reasons, but despite that, I'm absolutely gutted.
I am absolutely gutted as well. I mean, it's not like we haven't got any quality bike racing to watch on October the 25th. I mean, it's the final stage of the Giro d'Italia. All being well, it'll be the Queen's stage of the Vuelta as well. But there is just something about Paris-Roubaix that makes it one of the most special race days of the year. But that said, for it to take place on October the 25th, it was always going to feel like a bit of a bonus to have it at all this year. So, you know.
Well, I think we need to celebrate the races that we have had that might not have happened, such as the Tour de France, such as, fingers crossed, the Giro d'Italia, and as I said, the Vuelta too. I guess the people you need to feel most sorry for are not us as viewers that we're looking forward to watching, but the riders who haven't had much other racing since it resumed at the start of August. I'm thinking of the likes of Sepp van Mark, or Mathieu van der Poel actually, who obviously hasn't got any Grand Tours in his legs and missed the World Championship deliberately in order to focus on the cobbles. Fingers crossed he'll still have Ghent-Wevelgem this coming Sunday and also the Tour of Flanders the week after that.
Wow, how much pressure does it put on the Tour of Flanders as the final monument of the year? The one that the riders have got to land, for both men and women, of course. And yeah, you know, you touched on the fact that we're losing the first ever women's Paris-Roubaix. I feel really sorry. Anna van der Breggen in the rainbow stripes. Marianne Vos, you know, she must have been absolutely itching to tackle this one. Yeah,
well, hopefully van der Breggen will still get to compete in Paris-Roubaix as world champion because, of course, it is meant to be taking place in its normal slot in the spring of next year in April. So fingers crossed again for that one. Not the first race to be cancelled this year, might not be the last either. We had Amstel Gold, that was actually due to take place tomorrow. A couple of stages of the Binkbank Tour that was supposed to be in the Netherlands had to be either cancelled or moved to Belgium. So it's not unprecedented. We were half expecting it, but it doesn't make the news any easier to take in.
It doesn't. Now, reactions from riders and teams are beginning to trickle in. I think Alexis Ryan from Canyon SRAM sums it up pretty well. Sad to see another race go, but I respect the organisers' decision to protect the health and safety of everyone involved. See you next year, Paris-Roubaix. And yes, that, in a nutshell, is how we should all be approaching this, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, many teams and riders are also echoing her thoughts. Alexis Ryan there, whilst Mathieu van der Poel has also reacted by saying, just imagine it rains that day.
Yeah.
Which he was obviously looking forward to. I actually don't want a wet Paris-Roubaix because I just think it's going to be so dangerous. You know, we've seen some horrific crashes in the past from Museo, Philippe Gaumont as well, but he obviously wanted one.
I'm not surprised. If I was Mathieu van der Poel, I'd want a wet Paris-Roubaix as well.
Well, I'm sure he wanted a Paris-Roubaix full stop this year. Israel Startup Nation said just it's painful. It's supposed to be our first ever participation there. Whilst Mads Pedersen basically summed up pretty much the reaction from everybody the world over that's into cycling. He just put, no!
Oh, my word. Right. Now, this is, of course, devastating news. But, Dan, we have been thinking quickly, haven't we, about how we can salvage something from October the 25th other than just watching 2 stages of Grand Tours. So we're thinking that maybe October 25th this year should be Paris-Roubaix Day regardless.
Celebration. A celebration of the day which is supposed to be Paris-Roubaix by getting everybody, including us, to go out and find your local stretch of cobblestones. If you don't have any, just search for your local gravel section of road as well. Send in your pictures or indeed your videos. We want to get as many people on the rough stuff on their road bikes on October the 25th.
Yeah, now we will actually have a video on GCN for you on that very day. In fact, we are doing our own Paris-Roubaix on the mean streets of Bristol in the southwest of England, and we've actually got a star-studded field, Dan, this year.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, we got Sean Kelly instead, actually.
Well, he's a pretty adequate replacement, I would say.
Yeah, he is really. Because how many Paris-Roubaix did you win?
Well, I never rode it, so I was unable to try and go for the win.
We'll never know. Well, he had a few opportunities and managed to win it twice, so among other monuments. And
yeah, he wasn't a bad rider, Sean Kelly, really, was he?
No, we're going to get some lessons from the king on how to ride cobbles and just generally be like a hardcore bike rider, I think.
I actually thought that this was my brilliant idea to celebrate Paris-Roubaix on the day it was supposed to take place, but it turns out that Si had already thought about it and already organised to do it with the winner of the race on 2 occasions.
Well,
so well done, Si.
Technically, we organised it for April, and then lockdown happened, so it's been postponed a little bit. But there we go.
Right then, as we mentioned, we'd like you to get involved in this too by searching out your local rough stuff. Cobbles, if you've got them within your vicinity. If not, some gravel sectors. Send them over, pictures or videos. You can upload them to the GCN app.